So you guys remember last week when we were geeking out over the Kevin Conroy shout out?
Did you get another one?
And we were talking about, who we could possibly get next. And we floated the idea of Harrison Ford.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Well, I took Matt's advice and got us Anthony Ingruber.
No shit.
Han Solo. I'm Captain Millennium Falcon. Chewie and I are often asked what we like to listen to on the radio when we're bumming around in space in the Falcon. I like to listen to the Salty Nerd podcast, which is run by Matt Jude and my vocal nemesis, Alex. He's not that bad, though.
Nice. Well, thank you, Anthony. That was wonderful. And I am nowhere near as talented as you are. However, I wish someday that I could be. It is my goal.
But last week, Matt said, maybe we could get Anthony Ingruber. Yeah. And I was like, maybe we could.
That's amazing. I don't know how you're doing this, man. This is crazy.
But it's nice to have Han Solo give a shout out to the podcast.
That's fantastic, man. Thank you. Cheers to Anthony.
It wouldn't be any different from it is right now. Hello, all three listeners.
We're going to keep it on. We'll just be listening to ourselves.
Yeah. The panel here is probably greater than the sum of our listenership. So.
We'll be like I Am Legend, just sending out that radio like, we're here.
We're here every Wednesday of every week at 9 a.m.
If you need help.
Oh.
Maybe you hear about Jared Leto?
Yeah, no, what happened to him? Oh, he came back from like a retreat or something and was like, what's going on?
Yeah, he was like in a isolation retreat for like 12 days with like no cell phone or anything. And he comes back and he's like, Jesus, what happened?
What does he think he is, Jesus?
I should have stayed in the
I gotta go wander in the desert for 12
days.
He's
a weird guy.
He is a weird guy. Are we going to start this thing? We should probably start this thing.
We usually just go into it when we're talking.
Let's just hang out and infect each other.
Boom. It's a good plan.
Dude, that was a good movie.
What?
28 Days.
Yeah, I saw it a long time ago, but I remember it being freaky.
I'm looking at apocalypse movies.
I think we should start with Alex doing the traditional intro.
Sounds great.
Did we have a traditional intro?
Welcome back to another episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast. I am your host and aspiring voice actor in cahoots with Anthony Ingruber.
Yeah, Anthony Ingruber's vocal nemesis.
Vocal nemesis. I dig it. I hope that gives me some clout.
I told him that you get really jealous of people with nice voices.
I do.
Now I'm upset that you're not jealous of me.
I haven't heard enough of your work yet, Jude.
Oh.
But I'm sure I will be. When you do tampon commercials, I'll be like, God damn it, I should be doing that.
Stop. I'm out.
I did a pad commercial and I played it for him.
Matt's like, what are pads?
I did one for Jaguar, too.
Oh, you did that one?
Yeah, it's really good.
I like that one. I was practicing it at work the other day because I'm alone all the time, so I just practiced weird things by myself, like voiceovers.
All by myself.
There you go. We got the pitch down.
Don't wanna be.
Oh, that was a good movie. All right, we're going to talk. Okay, today's episode, we're going to be discussing.
Jesus Christ.
I haven't seen this movie.
We're going to be discussing streaming services and the studio's reaction to the coronavirus and what they're going to do in the future to
you need to say that more respectfully.
The coronavirus.
This is a very serious thing.
The China virus.
The Chinese virus.
Oh my God, that sounded like vagina virus.
That's the point. That's it.
The vagina
That's why
virus.
Trump says it that way. The vagina virus.
And he's laughing to himself
He
with his
is
head.
every single time.
This is going to piss
Did you guys
so
hear
many
what I
people.
did? Did you hear what I did? Nobody even knows.
He nudges Pence on the side like, hey, did you hear that?
Pence. It's like, Pence isn't allowed to say it.
Pence is like, dude, get man.
I'm just waiting for them to play that meow game from Super Troopers while they're doing a press conference.
I'm waiting for Pence to have his. I'm waiting for Pence to have his Biden moment where he like tells somebody to off camera with the hot mic. That would be. I would vote for him instantly.
The coronavirus task force just takes bets on what they can get away with saying during these press conferences.
What did that lady say?
It's like something about gaming where it's like, I got up to level 4. I didn't know you could get up to level 8. Something like that.
She was like, and the millennials are so good at gaming because they taught me that you could go from level 4 to level 7 without even skipping a beat.
Yeah, this is a world-renowned doctor who's like talking nonsense at the mic.
They were like, just do 15 minutes.
Well, You know,
Like, comedy is dead. We need medical
when I was
personnel up there doing minutes.
when I was doing professional marketing back in Hollywood,
Back in Hollywood.
I used to go to these like live like seminars and events and stuff, and I was friends with all the guys who were running the shows, and they used to have bets where they were like they would try to work in words that describe sexual acts into their presentations without people knowing about it. So like everyone would be like, okay, you have to work in mushroom brews into your speech.
Dirty Sanchez.
Yeah, Dirty Sanchez. Like that was legit one of them. And so like everyone would be like up there on stage, and all of a sudden you'd hear like them like slip in like one of these like sex acts into their speech, and then we'd all be in the back like. I just imagine that's what like the coronavirus.
I went up to my mother's attic and I found a rusty trombone.
Yeah. Exactly.
What are we talking about? Movies.
Well, we were going to introduce everyone.
Oh, that's right. I am joined
We got derailed.
by the barbarian himself, master of all nerds, Matt Vader, 74. Doing
research because he hasn't watched anything that we're going to talk about
right now.
doing his show prep on the show.
He's just got his phone out looking at post-apocalyptic movies.
What's up, guys?
I'm also joined once again by Juju.
Just some chick.
Ambassador of estrogen.
Ambassador of estrogen. I forgot what your title was. Ambassador of... oh my God.
Some dumb bitch on the show.
Already drunk at 10 a.m.
A reader of books and ambassador of estrogen herself.
Thank
Welcome,
you for
Jude.
having me.
I'm also joined by Matthew Kadish, author of the Earthman Jack Saga and the new series of books, Lawmen.
That's right.
Today's episode, we're going to be discussing the studio's reaction to the coronavirus and what they're going to do for the customer as far as taking theater releases and moving them straight to streaming.
How this could affect the future of the industry.
How this is dooming the future of theatrical releases and what it means to live in 2020.
That's what we're talking about today?
Among other
I
things.
sent
Shit, are
you
you
the
looking
show
up the wrong
notes
stuff?
3 times.
I'm looking at hockey mask and shoulder pad retails. Now to stock up on
You need to?
gasoline.
Demolition Man and Mad Max. We've been preparing for this day for a long time. Us movie nerds, we know what to do.
You get a mohawk, color it red. Does Cloverfield count?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess so.
Cloverfield's a
Not
disaster
exactly
movie,
not
an
exactly a
apocalypse.
pandemic, but
Now 12 Cloverfield Lane, that would count.
Also, alien invasions count.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
Okay,
the
cool.
apocalypse.
I don't know, whatever.
you're just scrolling through IMDb.
Uh-huh.
You cheater. All right. Anyway, we're not there yet.
Well, I am, but you go ahead and do your thing, man.
So to finish Alex's
We're going
thought,
to just talk about stuff, and then when
Yeah.
we get to that, he's going to be ready.
I'm not editing this
AF.
show.
We're talking about the impact on Hollywood from the coronavirus. We're talking about our favorite apocalypse movies, and we're talking about Westworld Season 3.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be gone by that one.
We'll save it for last then. If you want a real analysis of Westworld Season 3, you can go to Hack's Dogma's channel. He has some spot-on, amazing analysis of that TV show. And I would like to thank him personally because I'm a big fan of his YouTube channel. And he helps me understand that show. So thank you, Hacks. And I also bought his book, which is awesome. Go buy Cyclic on Amazon.
Have you ever watched
By C.S.
Jonathan
Woolman.
Nolan's other show, Person of Interest?
Bits of it, yeah. I'm not really into crime dramas, though.
It's actually, it kind of veers into sci-fi, and it deals with a lot of the same themes that are being explored in Westworld about like artificial intelligence and how it has the capacity to become godlike and rule over humanity. And Person of Interest was an excellent TV show. And when you watch Westworld, it's made by the same people. And so they have a lot of the same kind of themes going on in there about like what it means to be human, technology's role in our society going forward, how technology could surpass humanity and become a god basically unto itself, and how we worship technology as opposed to gods nowadays. Like there's lots of stuff in there that's very, very interesting, really cool sci-fi kind of themes.
You know, another show, I've never really finished it, but I always thought it was really good, was Fringe. It's kind of like that sci-fi. You don't like that show?
I tried to like it. It just never appealed to me. I didn't like the actors in it. I didn't like the writing. That's another Akiva Goldsman show, who, for those of you who don't know, he's the guy behind Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard. And
well, I liked Fringe. I thought it was cool. I thought it was fun.
He also did Batman and Robin.
You can't knock
And
it out
he's
of
an
the park
Oscar-winning screenwriter.
It's like one bad mark on your list and you're just done. How sad was the St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah. It got canceled.
Nobody even said Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Not even a word. It didn't trend on Twitter. Nothing. It was just dead.
Yeah. They still, in Chicago, they still turned the water green.
That's great. That's environmentally friendly. Awesome.
They do it every year. It's a tradition.
That's not why the coronavirus is trying to kill us all. That's not at all.
It's food coloring. Calm down.
Tell that to the dead fish.
The food coloring came from China.
It's Gina.
God,
Vagina.
Gina.
this podcast is just so off the rails.
It's because Jude's here.
No, it's
You're
because
going to get me fired.
She's already lost one job.
I don't need to get fired twice in 1 week.
I can't fire anybody. Worst I can do is change locations.
Here's what I do know with the end of all this. If we all go blind and I have to learn how to read ropes, I'm going to get really pissed off.
God. That's like my favorite thing you've ever said. And that's a reference to our earlier podcast scene.
That we gave up on after a drunken evening. Chet.
Because that's how that all started.
That's right, a virus that wiped out
Fucking virus.
all but 5%.
I can't see.
Start stocking up on tires and water bottles.
God damn.
All right, so Jude and I were watching Fast and Furious 8 and Hobbs and Shaw because we were finishing off our marathon of those movies. And there's a scene where The Rock is with his girls' soccer team, and they do a haka dance to intimidate the other team. And it was legit the exact same thing that Jason Momoa led in the opening episode of C, like the same words, the same bizarre gibberish at the end.
Is there just one haka?
I think
Are we
they're
being
specific to each
all
Are we
tribe.
being
Very nice.
insensitive
I don't know.
to culture?
Somebody.
Is there just one?
Nobody in the Pacific South Islands listens to this podcast. So I don't know.
Perfect.
So we can be as insensitive as we want.
I check. There's a couple people in Spain for some reason, but
One guy in Australia.
yeah, one guy in Australia. Shout out to Haas.
Just start advertising in Italy. I hear that they've got a lot to do.
You guys see those guys like singing on the patios and stuff? Mm-hmm. That was pretty
Yeah.
cool. I hate cities, so I wouldn't join in, but cheers to them, keeping things alive. What are we talking about?
So we are going to talk about how the coronavirus has affected Hollywood.
For the fourth time. Yes. So, my biggest question is, how much would you pay to have a brand new movie in your living room instead of at the theater? Because
$10 a month.
you want to
Which
do
is what we're paying right now.
a subscription,
That's what I was going to say. $10.
a subscription service?
We're already paying for subscription service. Like so like the news is that because the theaters have been shut down, a lot of the releases that were planned for March, April, even going into May have been pushed back and put on hold indefinitely. And so now studios are like, well, everyone's quarantined at home. We have all these streaming services. Why don't we release some of these movies on streaming, bypass the theaters or release them early and, give people content. And so you've had announcements that Birds of Prey, which is still in theaters, it's going to be released next week on streaming. A lot of Universal stuff like The Invisible Man is going straight.
Which is a big hit, too.
Yeah, it was a big hit in the theaters, and they're putting it on streaming early. And Marvel just announced that Black Widow is being delayed, but there's talk that they might put that on Disney Plus instead of doing the theatrical release. So, I mean, this could be something where, because theaters are shut down, a lot of people who haven't subscribed to streaming in the past move over to streaming, and you're going to see a lot of these companies push out content
Try to
early.
entice them to get on. Who does Universal use as a streaming service?
They have their Peacock network.
Is that out already?
I don't think it's out yet, but they're probably still got some type of deal with Netflix or Hulu or something like that. I'm not sure.
Hulu's owned by Disney. So.
But you got CBS All Access. You got Disney Plus, which desperately needs new content. You got Netflix, Amazon. You got all these.
Well, they just
streaming
released
services.
Frozen 2 and The Rise of Skywalker. Disney Plus is rocking.
Yeah, they released The Rise of Skywalker early, too.
Yeah. which
I don't think it's on Disney Plus though.
yeah,
It is?
Mm-hmm.
Rise is on Disney Plus.
right now, yeah, you can stream
Oh, damn! I better go not watch that.
it. Saw that coming.
Do you
Yeah,
think the
so
price? Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, like, I never really considered it to be a part of the streaming service thing. I thought it would be more of like a pay-per-view type thing. So, like, if you want to see this movie that's out in theaters or was supposed to be out in theaters, you can pay an extra fee because they have to make up for the ticket sales. You can't just do a normal because a normal ticket to the theater is like $15, and normally people don't go alone. They usually take a family with them, at least maybe one or two people. So you're talking about like $30 to kind of compensate for the loss in the theaters, and then if somebody has a streaming party, like, hey, I rented this movie, let's have 10 people over. That's a huge loss for the studios.
Well, but here's the thing you have to take into account. So with theaters, ticket prices get split with the exhibitor. So
How much? Like 20, 30, or 27?
It's usually a sliding scale. So like, it's like first week is like 90, 10 for the studio, and then it goes down every week that the movie's out until it kind of bottoms out at 50-50. But in addition to that, there are distribution costs to put movies in theaters. So like, getting the print made, delivering it to the theater, like stuff like that.
How much does that really cost though? With the digital age?
Hundreds of millions.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that seems surprisingly high.
I mean, they got to encrypt stuff. They have to prevent piracy from happening. So like, there's a lot of stuff going on now with streaming services. First of all, the studios control the platform. So it's super cheap to distribute stuff right to their own platform. But more than that, streaming services are subscription based. And so, yeah, you might get $15 for a ticket and only $10 a month for a streaming service, but that's monthly because most people who subscribe to a streaming service, they'll subscribe for multiple months. And so like the value of a subscriber is far greater for a streaming service than it is for a single ticket buyer. And, like I told you, I went to go cancel my Disney Plus subscription because I was like, there's nothing on here to watch. Yeah. And when I logged into my account, I was like, oh crap, I paid for the year. So yeah, I was like, oh, whatever.
I paid for the year too, but it was only like $70. I have a hard time imagining that breaks even with a $200-300 million movie.
Do you have a hard time believing that the cell phone industry doesn't make any money with monthly bills? I mean, there's a reason why
my cell phone bill is like $200.
There's a reason why all these companies are moving to a subscription model, and that's because the compounding revenue from these things is huge money, and they get to control the distribution platform.
I guess.
So, do you think that subscription fees are going to start going up now that everyone's sequestered in their home?
Probably not.
They do have an edge on the market though, because what are we going to do?
Yeah, what else are we going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cancel our subscription and not watch movies?
Yeah. Read books? Gross.
Oh, God. Read Matthew Kadish's Lawman out March 20th.
Coming out March 20th?
That was smooth.
Thanks.
Nobody reads anymore.
Also available on audible.com. Not a sponsor of the podcast, but they should be.
So what you guys are saying though really is I'm going to have to spend more money to watch it by myself.
Yeah.
Because you have 4 kids at home and you have to spend...
Yeah, so exactly. So I talked to a buddy of mine at work. He's got like a freaking ton of kids. He's got like 4 or 5 kids or something like that. And he's like, oh, I went to the movies the other day to go see something or other. I can't remember what movie they went to see. And it was like $100 for tickets. Yeah. So that's $100. Most of that's going to go to the studio. Some of it's going to go to the theater. I'm assuming one for each one of his family members.
How many family members does he have?
I don't know. $100. It's like 7 people, right? Plus popcorn and all that other shit. It was an expensive night. So, that's what I'm saying. Like, they're going to miss out on that type of money. But I guess if you're thinking about, like, you put out one movie and then people are paying for multiple months.
The thing is like, kids don't have to go to the theater. Like, if you have young kids, the theater could be something for adults, and you could just keep the kids at home with the TV.
I like taking my kid to the theater, though.
And also, I mean, a lot of people bring their kids to the movies because they assume that their kids will sleep through the movies, and it's cheaper than a babysitter.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
I've never done that, but okay.
Well, no, but I mean, it mathematically, it makes sense. Like, you have to pay a babysitter, what, $10 an hour? Or you could just buy a kid's ticket for $10.
Yeah.
Like, you're gone for like 5 hours and you're paying that babysitter to stay with your kid. It's way cheaper to just bring your kid with you. How many times have you been to a movie and you've been like, oh my God, there's a couple here with a kid that's at an inappropriate age to be in this movie theater? It's because they can't afford to, or they don't want to pay a babysitter to stay home with their kid. It's not because they I'm being an asshole right now, but it's not because like, oh, I love my kid so much, I want my kid with me all the time. It's because you don't want to pay for a babysitter to stay home with your kid.
Is that why they took their kid to Alien Covenant at 10 o'clock at night?
Yep.
Sons of bitches.
So an interesting aspect of this is that up to now, so studios have flirted with in the past with doing simultaneous like theatrical and home video releases, and they've largely stayed away from that because it pisses off the theater owners, like the exhibitors.
They're going to go out of business.
And the exhibitors, you know, like they are a huge chunk of Hollywood's not only infrastructure but also their revenue model.
And also that you have to be in theaters for a week in LA in order to apply for any kind of an award.
Yeah, but I mean, like that, those rules can be changed. The real thing here is that, like, if the theater owners saw home video as a threat, they could just say, like, okay, we're not going to carry any of your movies in our theaters, and like that's how they were able to bully the studios into keeping away from these like early streaming releases. So any original movie that you see released on streaming, it's streaming exclusive. It was never out in theaters, and if it was like maybe like one theater to get like the award nod that Alex was talking about. But with this situation, so you have situations where theaters are being closed. I think AMC said they were going to be closed for up to 90 days. You know, so like 3 months. And in a situation like that, this gives a window of opportunity for the theaters to get past that threat and studios to get past that threat and really kind of push their streaming services and see if they can kind of get a toehold in the, you know, straight to streaming, straight to home video market. And that means that when the theaters come back online, they're going to have to start doing stuff to really compete with home video. Now, this isn't the first time that you know
not sell popcorn for like $19 a bucket.
Right.
No, I'm talking about stuff like the Screen X stuff where you have literally like a 360 degree movie experience, advanced 3D. More stuff like having food delivered to your recliner in the theater and offering like alcoholic beverages and stuff like they're gonna have to step up their game in order to draw people away from the comfort of their home.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's gonna be interesting to see how this shapes out and affects the industry.
That's a good point.
They're going to have to go open bar.
Yeah, if they do, and again, the prices are freaking ridiculous for some of that stuff. I spent like $25 on a drink. It was ridiculous. So
yeah, but if they said $25 fee for alcohol, and then it's just bottomless at that point.
Yeah, no, that brings up a good point that they're going to have to step up their game, and they're going to have to, because everybody has like a 75-inch Ultra 4K TV nowadays. They're going to have to bring something to the table that's bigger than that.
Well, it was the same
newer
thing.
Than that.
Same thing that happened when TVs became common in the home. They were all like, TVs are going to kill theaters. And then the theaters came out with CinemaScope, which was the widescreen format. And so like people were like, oh, when you go to the theater, you get
a better view,
a better experience. And so theaters are going to have to keep upping the experience, level of going to see a movie in the theater. Because a lot of people hate going to the theater.
I love it. But
yeah, I mean, like
cinema nerds, so that makes sense.
And you know, people like to go out on dates and get away from the house, and it's great to go see a movie and stuff like that. So I don't think theaters are ever going to truly die, but they are going to have to start doing stuff to compete with the level of home video. And the real question becomes, where's the content going to be? Because if all the studios stop putting their movies in theaters, it's going to be like, well, okay, yeah, you can go and have this great experience at the theater, but what are you going to watch? You know? So
here's another question that I'll kind of theorize to you guys. Do you see, once the theaters get hit hard by this 90-day shutdown and possibly not be able to recover anytime soon, do you see studios buying out the theaters and having like, hey, this is a Disney theater and we only exclusively show Disney movies?
I don't think that's allowed.
Not allowed to do that?
I think there's an antitrust issue with that because you can't control the means of production and distribution, I think.
Okay. That's smart. Good job, government.
But that's also why, like...
Just on that one thing.
Just on one thing.
That's also why I think, didn't China come in and buy out, like, AMC or something?
China?
Yeah.
Forever will be known as China.
China virus.
So let me ask a question around the table. Matt Vader, what is a theater experience for you? Or what's going to draw you out of your home to get you to the theater?
So I don't go to the theater as much as probably as you guys do, but when I do, it's for big event popcorn movies, Star Wars, not
any Star Wars anymore.
But the big events, the Marvel movies, that kind of stuff. I I like the movie experience. I like the big screen with the sound and all that kind of stuff. Like something that I can't get at home. Mm-hmm. I can watch an Oscar movie at home in like 1917 or something like that, and it'd be fine. But for some of these bigger movies, it's different. You know, I want that theater experience for something like that. So,
what about you, Jude?
To be honest, it's hard to get me to the movies. Matt can attest to this. Like, I never want to go to the movies. I would much rather just stream it from my couch and not have to put on pants and not have to pay for wine. I would much rather watch a movie on the couch. But for me, if like what draws me to the theaters is like an event, sort of like Vader was saying, like, but like when It came out and It too, like I love horror movies.
Yeah.
I got a group of friends together and I was like, we're going to go to the theater. We're going to go get some drinks first. We'll go get some food. We'll make it an event. Yeah, we'll make it a thing. It'll be a fun, like it's a party. Mm-hmm. And we'll go and watch this movie and get the bejesus scared out of us. And for me, that's really the only thing that gets me out. If it's just like, sorry, babe, me and Matt, I'm just like, oh, can't we just stay home? So I don't know. I don't need the movie experience. I would much rather just be in the comfort of my home.
I do. I'm more of the theater type, mostly just to get out of the house.
Fucking theater kid.
I am. I love it. I like going. I don't ever pay for like popcorn or drinks or anything like that. I'm sorry, theater chains, but that's out of my range. But I'll buy the ticket.
He loves like it. The popcorn, it's an experience for him.
Fuck their stupid popcorn.
Yeah, I'm not big on movie food and junk either.
And as far as the drinks go, I always pregame anyway. I'll just make my wife drive and be like,
We're the same person, Alex.
we never go into the theater without my wife having a bottle of water tucked in her purse.
Yeah.
It's just how it goes.
We take full advantage of the diaper bag.
Nice.
Because we have kids now, so we can carry around a backpack and be like, oh, there's just diapers and wipes in there.
When they
we
charge
stuff it.
$18 for a Coke, it's, I mean,
realistically, for snacks, for a piece of candy, a drink, and maybe a small popcorn, you're paying the same price that you did for the ticket to get in the door.
Yeah.
It's like I understand that's how the movie theaters make their money back from getting gouged by the movie people, but
maybe they need to start sticking it to them, taking more of a profit.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, $12 for a 60-cent bucket of popcorn.
You see the same thing at like theme parks and stuff too, though. Mm-hmm. Food is just marked up unbelievably. Same with the Strip.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yeah,
it's like a tourist trap. Yeah. Anywhere that's popular to go to, you're gonna get gouged for food and beverage.
Yeah, remember that time we went to the luxury theater downtown?
Oh my God.
And Jude was treating me, so... I was,
mistake.
Yeah. she ended up spending, how much was
it? Was
$100. That was just like for food.
Just for the food?
Yeah. I was like, can I just have a water? And they brought me like one of those big glass vases that was like $10. And I was like, oh no.
Bottle vase.
Yeah. And then I was like, you know what? At this point, I might as well just buy a bottle of wine. I was like, just...
It was like a full menu
put it on the tab.
Like they actually make you food and bring it to your seat. Yeah. It was very nice, but it was expensive.
And they closed down.
I think that didn't have anything to do with the prices.
It was because nobody went there.
No, it was because the guy who he ran out of money to pay the lease on the building
because nobody went there.
Yeah, he had some financing issues. I think that my big theater experience, the coolest theater experience I ever had. It was a terrible movie. It was Rampage with The Rock.
Oh, yeah.
You went with Kayla, right?
It's Jude's favorite movie because it's got 3 of her man crushes in it.
Oh, my God.
Was it The Rock, Negan?
And Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah, Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
And Joe Monta, nobody knows how to pronounce his name.
Yeah, the werewolf guy from True Blood. So, I went to see it with...
Put me in a pile up with those 3. Yeah. Let me die.
I went to see it with our friend Kayla, and it was this thing called Screen X. And basically, a typical movie, they have a projector that projects the movie in front of you. But with Screen X, they have other projectors that also project it on the sides. So like on your left side and on your right side and in front of you. So it's like this panoramic, almost immersive experience where when the movie's playing out, you've got... you can't see the theater. It's just you're in the movie almost. And it's better than 3D. It was better than anything I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, this is awesome. Like me and Kayla, came out of that movie, we were like, the movie was okay, but the experience was amazing. And like, that's the type of thing that I'd like to see more of. You kind of got that a little bit with IMAX, in the sense that when you shot a movie in IMAX and you had the big IMAX screen, it was like this really immersive experience where you got to see like so much more of the picture. But the Screen X stuff is like way, way cooler. And that's something that like you would have to go to the theater for, because you can't get that experience at home. And I'm hoping that more theaters kind of start adopting that technology, especially considering the fact that I hate 3D. Like, I hate having to wear 3D glasses while I'm watching a movie and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Screen X, you don't need glasses. It's just this like almost 360-degree screen that surrounds you.
One step closer to holograms.
Yeah.
One step closer. We're going to get there soon, people.
Holodecks?
Or maybe like how
Holodeck.
they do the silent, I forget what it's called. I'm so old. It's the silent dance parties. How they like give everybody the headphones or the earbuds or something, and you go in and you just hear the music just in your ears. If they did something like that in movie theaters, so
That's a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a way.
weird.
It's a way to keep
It's like you walk into a room and everybody's got headphones on.
Yeah.
Jumping around dancing.
It's a real sensory experience.
It's bizarre.
It's also a way to keep the police from hitting you with noise complaints.
Yeah.
So you can have raves and stuff without disturbing the neighbors.
These guys just blew my mind. That's crazy.
You're younger than all of us. You should know this stuff. more
Usually,
than we do.
that's completely to your generation.
I don't get out much.
You need to take one of those quizzes that tells you how old you really are.
I'm your age. I'm not even joking.
Because I'm like 68.
I've done that before, and I'm
don't
like
know why.
in my 50s as far as the test is concerned. All my pop culture references are from the 70s and 80s, and I'm out of touch with my generation. So all you millennial people, I'm Gen X, baby. I don't care what my birthday
He's
is.
a boomer.
He's not a boomer.
I'm not a boomer.
I'm not a boomer.
Make sure you stay home,
Just keep
okay?
making me snort loud.
Anyway, what's our next topic? We got movie theater chains and
We were gonna talk about apocalyptic movies.
oh yeah, our top 5 or top whatever. Pick a number. I don't give a shit.
Does anybody have 5? I have 3.
I could probably hang up before 5.
I can come up with 2 more.
I don't know what I just said. I just mumbled a bunch of stuff.
Well, since there are 4 of us, let's just do 3 each.
Okay.
Okay.
3 each?
Matt's ready to go.
Matt's ready to go, so we're going to start with you,
Kadish.
buddy. What's
Out
your...
the gate. You got your phone in your hand.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with this.
Are you texting?
Are you getting ready for a soundbite or something? Back in Hollywood.
I don't want to be the first to go.
He's
Oh, okay.
he's talking to Booger from Revenge of the Nerds for next week's Sounder.
He's in Better Off Dead.
Pure snow.
This is pure snow.
It's everywhere.
Street value.
You know the street value of this mountain is? Oh,
I
that's...
love that movie.
God damn it. Thank you. All
You guys
these
want to
awesome
stay and just
celebrities.
watch that movie?
Yes. Not today, but yes. All right. Well, since I'm the leader of this so-called
do it.
podcast, I will go first.
Yes, fearless leader.
Top of the level for me, as far as an experience, I saw in theaters when it came out, and it at the time it struck me. I was moved by this movie. It was I Am Legend with Will Smith, and I can't really claim that it's like the best movie ever because I don't think it is. But at the time when I watched it in the theater, it was quite the experience, and I think they did a fantastic job with that movie. And one of my favorite moments that I will never forget is when he's in this city and he's completely all by himself, and Sam, the dog, chases something into a dark building, and that whole sequence, as far as the way it was shot and as far as like Will Smith's acting, being the only person on screen for the entire movie, he's going in this building and you just see like a video camera of his face with his gun barrel pointed down, and he's freaking out because he's in this dark room and he knows
And he has to go after her because Sam's all he has.
Yes, he has to save Sam, and that's his. He's terrified to do it, but he has to do it, and that whole sequence just blew my mind. I loved it. I was like, "This is amazing. This is such a great cinematic experience as far as that." And then when he turns that corner and he sees them all huddled together and they're breathing real heavily, he just like freaks out for a second. Like I was freaking terrified. That was an amazing shot, and I love that movie for it. And I know the ending didn't quite live up to everybody's expectations. As I think a lot of people felt it was kind of disappointing. And I can agree to a point, but that movie, up until that third act, I think was just fantastic.
Well, the whole movie was just so intense the whole way through. I feel like that no matter how they ended it, it probably would have been a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, well, maybe.
And how that movie differs from current events is that in the movie, dogs were affected by the virus, and in current events, our dogs are safe.
I thought it was transmitted by animals. Anyway,
I have a big irrational hatred of that movie.
of course you do.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
Well,
Well, hold on, I'm not done yet. Hold on.
Little Pappas moment.
What was I going to say?
It's your time to shine.
Shit, I forgot what I was going to say.
Ending? Dogs?
Oh no, the setup for the reason why these zombies/vampires were around. That whole like, hey, we came up with this thing that cures cancer, and there's, as far as we can tell, there's no side effects, and then all of a sudden shit went south real quick. And I was like, wow, that's such a cool thing, because scientists and humans are always trying to play God with like genetics, which is part of the reason why I like Jurassic Park so much, is because this God mentality of like, oh, we're going to manipulate this and we're going to make it benefit us somehow. And then
I thought you just liked dinosaurs.
I do love dinosaurs, but I love dinosaurs, and I also like the message behind Jurassic Park and Michael Crichton's novels.
Let's have you say that after you meet a dinosaur.
Can I make dinosaurs? They're getting closer. There's an
back on
ankylosaurus. They found an ankylosaurus that still had flesh on it. It was buried in some permafrost, and it was still like fleshy. And I'm like, oh my god, clone it! It's just an ankylosaurus. What's the worst that could happen?
Famous last words.
Anyway, that's one of the biggest things that I appreciated about that movie was the setup for it, and the atmosphere of him going around town and seeing all these dilapidated buildings and kind of like searching for supplies in people's apartments and seeing dead bodies kind of left behind. It was very somber and realistic, and I just love that movie.
Have we all seen that movie? I have.
Yeah.
So my favorite part of that movie, because I love that movie too.
Oh, good.
I know. And I only have 3 movies, but if I had to make 5, that would have been one of my 5. But my favorite part of that movie is the scene where he walks up to the mannequin and he's just desperate for something real. And he's like, the emotion in his face, and he's like, are you real? Are you real? Like that really, it touched me in a way that was just like the loneliness of it, I felt.
I don't know. I'm an introvert, so I'd be like, whatever. I did like that moment. There's something that they did with the camera or for CGI or whatever, but when he's driving by and he sees Frank, the mannequin, in the street, and he's like, what are you doing out here, Frank?
Yeah.
The first time you see Frank in the street, he does actually turn his head. His head moves towards the car. If you watch the movie real closely, and that's what freaks Will Smith. It's his mind playing tricks on him. But in the movie itself, they actually did that, and I was like, "Oh, that's so."
Oh, that makes me want to rewatch it.
It's really good. It's a cool moment. It still gives me chills just thinking about it.
Vader, you've been researching all morning. You want to go?
What you got there, buddy?
I'm just twittering.
Oh, good.
Well, I wanted to comment on that movie real quick.
I know it. Go ahead.
So first of all, I was a fan of the book way before the movie got made, and the Will Smith version was nothing like the book.
Yeah.
Second of all, when I was in college, that movie was originally going to be made starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and being directed by Ridley Scott. And I got to read one of the drafts of the script.
That would have been a totally different movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I got to read the draft of the script that Ridley Scott had been developing, and it was fantastic. It was an absolutely phenomenal script. I loved it. I couldn't wait to see Arnold Schwarzenegger in that role.
What are you doing here, Frank?
it was totally different. It was totally different, and it was a lot closer to the book. And I felt like the ending to the book was so powerful that it would have made like one of the most iconic movie moments ever. And the movie that Will Smith ended up making just
botched it.
Didn't do anything.
Because in the book, he's the monster, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's revealed that he is the one who is the monster, and the people that he perceives as monsters or vampires are actually normal people.
No, the vampires have become the dominant species, and because he's the one going around killing them, like he's the boogeyman now, and that's why he's legend. Is because cool. he is the thing that the vampires tell their kids to be afraid of. Yeah, and it was the story about like him kind of coming to grips with the fact that he's like the last of his kind, and he has to let go in order to make room for like this new species. and it was very poignant, and it was really a powerful ending. Like when he comes to this realization, and because in the book, he has this like compound that he's like home alone, where he's like booby trapped everything, and the vampires come to try to like kill him because they see him as a threat. And so every night he's up and he's like fighting these vampires, and he's been alone for God knows how long. And then he meets like a woman who looks like a human, and he takes her in and cares for her, and he's just like so grateful to have like more human contact, and he kind of like comes to care for her and stuff like that. And then it's revealed like later on in the book that she's actually a vampire, but the vampires are evolving to be more, kind of like a human vampire hybrid type thing. And he couldn't believe that, like he actually like could care for like a vampire and stuff like that. So it was like a very interesting kind of take on being accepting of differences, and how like when you vilify like a whole nother race, like you become the monster and stuff. So there was a lot of very subtle stuff that was in the book that I would have liked to have seen translated into the movie, which probably wouldn't have happened with the Arnold Schwarzenegger version. but still, like, like I would have liked to have seen, because I think Louis Leterrier directed the Will Smith version. And, he did Taken, I think, and a couple other kind of French action movies. And I would have liked to have seen like a little bit more sophistication in the themes of the movie and stuff like that. But
I can agree with you.
I don't think it's a bad movie. I just have an irrational hatred of it because I know what it could have been.
The source material, it doesn't pay homage to the source material enough. I mean, there's a little bit of that in it, but it's kind of a swing and a miss as far as of hitting the nail on the head. So I can understand why people kind of get turned off by it. But when I had no idea it was already a book when I saw it in theaters, and I was just blown away by it. I was like, this is freaking awesome. I love that movie. Next on my list would be Deep Impact. Although I think Armageddon is the
porn?
No. No, the one with Elijah Wood. Not that porn either. No, I like...
hello, Mr. Wood.
I enjoy...
The porn to end all porns.
As far as entertainment value goes, I do enjoy Armageddon better, with the Bruce Willis movie with Ben Affleck, Bruce Willis, what's the... Liv Tyler.
Steve Buscemi.
I think that movie, Steve Buscemi,
I wanted to feel the power between my legs.
Yeah, he's a hugely underrated actor because he's amazing in every single thing he's ever done.
Hello, fellow kids.
He's Steve Buscemi in everything he does.
Yeah.
He's the same dude.
But anyway, that movie is obviously, we all agree. And on an entertainment level, Armageddon is better.
I saw Armageddon at the drive-in when it first came out.
That's awesome.
I know.
I love drive-ins.
That's how old I am.
No, that doesn't mean you're old. Because
Armageddon is the quintessential Baygasm.
Yeah.
It's his best movie.
No, I think 6 Feet Under would be that one. The Baygasm.
No, 6 Underground.
6 Underground, whatever it is. Anyway, I think Deep Impact did a better job at displaying kind of like the everyman, the average person. What kind of effect would this have on like just the average family, and watching their panic and watching them react to the situation and having to pick who's going to live and who's going to die amongst the family members. I think that movie did a really good job at kind of displaying the apocalypse.
Yeah. That scene where that kid wins the lottery and then they learn that his family can't come with him and they have to just decide, okay, well, you're going to live and we're going to die. Yeah. And it's okay. And don't cry. We're going to go over here and die and you'll live. That's heart-wrenching.
Oh, I just remember something about I Am Legend. I'm going to rewind a little bit. The moment where they're trying to get through the gates and they're scanning people's eyelids and temperature gauges. I saw what they were doing in China before you could get on flights and stuff, and I was like, holy shit, it's I Am Legend. They were scanning people. They're taking people's temperatures. Yeah.
Oh.
And somebody
said that happened to them going into a grocery store the other day here.
Yeah. They're scanning people for temperature, and if your temperature's too high, you get booted out.
Wow.
And I was like, holy shit, that's I Am Legend. Like, I saw that happen in a movie. Oh my God.
It's happening.
It's happening.
Hollywood did it first.
Yeah. It's amazing. Anyway, okay. Fast forward to Deep Impact. I really enjoyed that movie as far as the everyday man goes. It was really cool. I loved it. I liked the way that it kind of portrayed that family dynamic.
I felt like
that would be number 2 on my list.
The most disturbing part of that movie was, the astronauts who are up there trying to like redirect the asteroid, and one of them gets like shot off into space, and he's just like, flying away, and it cuts to the inside of his helmet. He's just like screaming, and it's like that dude is just like
Gone.
Like he's not dead. He's just going to die really slowly and painfully. Like
He's going to suffocate in like
eventually
an hour or so, however much long.
Either they're going to suffocate or freeze to death.
Yeah, but I was like, that's probably the worst way to go.
I don't know. How would you, if you were just floating in space in a spacesuit, what would you do? Would you wait until your oxygen ran out, or would you just take your helmet off?
I'd probably just end it.
Just take your helmet off and float away. Like, all right, peace. It'd be a nice view. I liked Space Cowboys, where what's his name? What's the guy's? Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones. He landed on the moon. He was like, I'm gonna go out like a boss. And he just rockets his ass to the moon. I thought that was a good way for an astronaut to die. Anyway, that was my two. I'm gonna think about it because I know I had a couple. Oh, Mad Max, obviously, post-apocalyptic Mad Max movies are awesome. Fury Road's up there.
There goes my answer.
I knew Matt.
Vader was gonna
I was
say
going to say
that. Okay.
Vader was going to say
Yeah,
that.
I know.
No,
Vader.
actually that would be like my number 2. I was just gonna lump all the Mad Max movies into one thing.
That's fair.
Okay.
From but
So what is it about you that you like those movies?
they're just fun.
They're just
They're
fun
just
to watch.
You
the
like
carnage.
Mohawks?
They're just crazy fun. Mohawk, give me your gasoline and I'll let you live. You know, it's
Two
just,
men into one man.
yeah,
lead.
it's so good. It's so good. I love those movies. I could watch them over and over all the time.
I always thought it was really weird that like there's an oil shortage, but people have like flamethrowers and shit like that, and cars that get like 8 miles to the gallon.
It's
It's not realistic at all.
They're very culty movies, and it's like I don't even know if you guys know, but there's a thing here in Vegas where it's called a Wasteland Weekend, where all these people dress up and role play, and they go out in the desert between here and Barstow somewhere, and they camp out for like 5 days.
Yep.
And it's like they have the Thunderdome. It's like hundreds of people. It's legit.
It's legit. Like I've seen videos, and I'm like, holy cow, these guys go
Wasteland
all the
Weekend, look
way.
it up. It's
They've
wild.
got the old time cars with like spikes hanging out the back of them, and like flamethrowers. They go all the way.
They just make the movie out in the desert and do it.
If they ever wanted to make a sequel to Fury Road, just wait till that weekend. You got all the extras you need already in costume.
But
It's amazing.
But I like the Fury Road was probably, I think, my favorite movie of pretty much the last decade.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's really high up there for me, and they're just a lot of fun, and they don't take it super seriously, but the stunts and everything, it's just made for a theater. It's just made for crazy post-apocalyptic nonsense. You know, it's great stuff.
All very simple stories.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Max only speaks like 12 lines in the entire movie.
But I think if I want to go down like a weird hole for like post-apocalyptic movies,
Go for it. I love weird holes.
well, yeah,
Deep Impact.
I've always been partial to. You guys are gonna laugh at me, but The Postman.
Oh, I love
yeah.
Postman.
It's a good movie.
Postman's a really good movie.
It is. It's
And,
underrated. It's definitely. weird.
I kind of. It was set. It supposedly was set up in the Northwest where I come from, and I always kind of think about what if something weird happens to where, what would happen, you know? And it's like I can totally see how the community is kind of like enclosed in these little town fortresses and things up in the woods and everything, and I can completely see and that happen for real up there, or something like that.
That was the movie that basically destroyed Kevin Costner's career.
Yeah, Waterworld, right? Waterworld was the most expensive.
Well, Waterworld
Waterworld was the
didn't
clincher.
ruin his career.
Which one
but
came out first?
Waterworld did.
Okay.
But before Postman?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Kevin Costner didn't produce or direct Waterworld. He just starred in it. But he was the guy behind The Postman. So he was the one who produced it, directed it, and got it made. And because it was such a huge failure, it basically ended his career.
I mean, I know it got a lot of crap when it came out, but
It's also based on a book.
Yeah.
I saw that. I think I may have watched it on TV. It was on like TNT or something. It was the
Postman
first
or Waterworld?
Postman. Waterworld I saw, and I watched the movie, and I just didn't care for it. I know they have like a thing. It's like based on Waterworld. It's like a stunt show.
I think they used to. I don't know if they
I don't think they
still
have
do.
that
They
anymore.
don't have it anymore. I remember seeing that when I went to Universal.
Yeah.
I saw that show.
I thought Postman was good.
I did too.
Like there are some moments in it where it's just kind of like, okay. But overall, I thought like it was a very interesting movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. What else you got?
Oh, that's pretty much it.
Just the two?
Yeah, just the two.
Our top 2 post-apocalyptic movies.
That was really like 6 movies.
Well, technically, he did something like 5 movies.
Yeah, he did 5.
The Mad Max.
Survivor.
You know, there's
saga.
always all the zombie movies and stuff.
Oh yeah, what is your favorite zombie movie?
My favorite zombie movie?
I think all of mine are zombie movies.
Boy. Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. That's a fantastic choice.
Great one.
Yeah.
Good choice.
I love that. All right, Jude, what do you got?
I got 3.
Cool.
So my number 3 is This Is the End.
Okay, I haven't seen that yet. Everybody tells me how amazing it is.
It's hilarious.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I must have saw that movie in the theater like 5 times. It's hilarious.
I saw it in the theater once, but since then I think I watched it like 2 or 3 times. But it's just
Jonah Hill.
still hilarious.
They keep mentioning his Oscar. I mean, it is like if you're a fan of any of those guys, like it's so worth watching because Danny McBride plays himself.
Yeah. Oh, what's
Oh,
the
I know.
Michael?
I remember. Yeah, okay. I was trying to remember what this
Michael.
was.
What's his name?
Michael Cena.
Michael.
Oh no,
His
no,
name? That's not his name.
the guy from Arrested Development, right?
Yes.
Like there's a scene where he's getting a BJ and having his butt licked
He's
at
just
the same time.
Whoa.
such a
Yeah,
dick.
he really plays himself as a
Yeah.
true degenerate.
Yeah, he's a degenerate.
He's not playing a character. He's like, no, this is me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome.
And there's this whole scene where like they're talking about raping Emma Watson.
yeah.
Or no,
Yeah.
no, Hermione Granger. What's her
Yeah,
name?
Emma Watson.
Emma Watson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but they're talking about like not raping her.
Yeah.
They're like,
we
I'm
don't-
not going to rape her.
Yeah, yeah.
Why? Do you want to rape her? And they're I'm not going to rape her. And
Yeah.
she's listening. She's like, these guys are going to rape me.
Yeah, like but they're trying to be like, how can we make her feel like we're not going to rape her because we're like a bunch of dudes. She's the only girl. We don't want her to think
We
she's
don't
going
want
to
her
get
to think
raped.
she's going to get raped. She's like, they're totally going to rape me. It's so funny.
It sounds bananas.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's fantastic, and it's got like a lot of like meta humor too.
Yeah.
So like there's stuff that they talk about at the beginning of the movie that pays off later in the movie, and it's just it's phenomenal.
So that This Is the End is 2013. My number 2 is 2004's Dawn of the Dead.
Okay.
I love that movie. I saw it in the theaters when it first came out. I remember seeing previews for it and then having nightmares about the previews, and I was like, I have to see this movie.
Zack
Are you
Snyder's
talking the
Dawn of
original or the remake?
The 2004.
Okay.
This is
Zack
amazing.
Snyder's.
Great
Yeah,
movie.
the soundtrack is great. It's so good that come on everyone and get down with the sickness. It's so good.
Anyway, what else you got?
And my number 1 is it's the same as my number 1 sci-fi movie, which is 1982 Night of the Comet.
I've never even heard of that movie.
I love this movie.
She made me watch
so
it.
much. I probably watch it a couple of times a year.
It's one
and
of those, huh?
From the 80s, and the Halley's Comet comes through and it kills everyone, turns them into, they call them comet zombies.
Huh.
And these 2 girls are like 2 of the only survivors in the world, and they just go shopping and they like
What?
fight zombies. And then there's these scientists who are working on a cure, but they got like partial exposure, so they're like slowly turning into zombies. So they got to hurry up and find a cure, and they want to just like dissect these 2 girls that survived in order to create a cure for themselves. It's so good. It's so 80s.
It's not good.
It's not good, but
You
it's good.
shut your whore mouth.
It's okay. I'm gonna have to watch that.
It's so good.
Okay, where can I find it?
It's on Amazon.
Is it Prime?
No, it's not on Prime.
Oh, I gotta rent it.
Yeah.
God damn it!
It's
$3.
probably $3.
$3. I want my $3.
Damn it. I love you, Alex.
So yeah, I know you do. I got you. Cool. So all zombie movies for you, pretty much.
This Is the End is not a zombie movie. It's
Oh,
more of
okay.
a devil,
It's an apocalypse movie.
Almost like
Heaven and
sounds
Hell.
like a parody.
heaven and hell. Yeah, it is. It's kind of.
It's a comedy, but it's a comedy based around the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Kind of like Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
I feel like which one's better, Shaun of the Dead or This Is the
They're
End?
two very different movies.
Very different. Yeah.
Zombieland.
Oh, Zombieland's great.
Zombieland's great. Yeah.
Zombieland, I feel like, is actually probably the most realistic of all the zombie movies. Because if you're talking about these things that are like super kind of like not real smart and kind of slow, you're going to get people like that, like Tennessee and what's his name? Freaking Woody Harrelson's name in that movie? He's
Tennessee.
Is it Tennessee?
Yeah,
Okay.
Tennessee.
Yeah. You're going to get guys like that.
Tallahassee.
Tallahassee. That's what it is. You're going to get guys like that who are just like, oh, this is my dream. This is going to be great. And
Yeah.
I feel like that might be a little bit of me because I'm going to be like, I'm down. Let's do this.
Is there a celebrity that you would want to be stuck with in the apocalypse?
A celebrity?
Yeah.
Fuck no. Bunch of drama queens. No.
Steven Seagal.
No, definitely not. Maybe The Rock because he's like super duper strong, but
John Cena.
Yeah. I feel like if he didn't have the exact diet that he's on right now, he would shrink up real quick.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to be with anyone too big because if they get turned, then they're going to be really difficult to deal with.
is that how that works?
For me, yeah. I'm small.
Mia Khalifa.
Lou Ferrigno?
Good choice.
Khalifa.
Mia Khalifa, former porn star.
There you go. Zombie. Oh, it's gross. Anyway, all right.
Kevin Smith.
What are your picks, Ben?
Kevin Smith would be amazing to hang out with in the apocalypse.
Should we just like bake out?
Yes.
Seth Rogen.
Close
Seth
all the
Rogen.
doors.
Yeah, Bill, yeah.
Close all the doors and just get high as fuck. Yeah, I'm down. Kevin, go ahead. Kevin Smith sounds like a fun apocalypse partner. What about you? Who would you hang out with?
Pocket partner.
A pocket partner.
Well, can I talk about my movies?
Yes. What's your top post-apocalyptic movies?
So, I have a couple. Jude actually touched on two. So, This Is the End is probably, I'd have to say, my favorite because that movie is just amazing. And the original Dawn of the Dead, because I saw that way before the remake came out. And that was like the movie, it was George Romero, it was his follow-up to Night of the Living Dead. And that was like the first time where you were like, okay, yeah, like if it were the end of the world and there were like all these zombies, I'd hold up in a mall because like there's just tons of shit there. And it was, kind of like, a very realistic depiction of what people would do in an apocalypse. And so like I really like the original version of it. Probably better than the remake. I'm not even sure Jude has seen the original, so like she might have.
The original one, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the one where they find the zombie in a barrel in the basement, right? And it's coming up the stairs like brains.
No,
Is that one?
No, that's Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, okay. I'm getting my
That's
zombie
something
movies confused.
completely different. Yeah. No, this is the sequel to Night of the Living Dead. It's a George Romero movie. It's basically it was the movie that the remake that Jude talked about was based on.
Okay.
So it's survivors. They hole up in a mall and they try to survive the zombie apocalypse. And it turns out they should be trying to survive themselves. But my serious pick for apocalypse movies is Children of Men.
Oh, that's a good movie. Clive Owen.
Mm-hmm. And then my guilty pleasure pick is this movie called Doomsday with Roma Mitri. And it's directed by Neil Marshall, who did The Descent and the new Hellboy movie.
I love Descent. The new Hellboy movie?
The new Hellboy movie, yes. So like after The Descent came out, like he had like a lot of clout. So they were like, what type of movie do you want to make? And he's like, I want to make the most batshit crazy movie anybody's ever seen. And so he basically remade Escape from New York, but meshed it with Mad Max and like a bunch of other movies that he like grew up loving.
Doomsday?
It's called Doomsday. And so the story is there's this virus called the Reaper virus, and it's devastating, and it breaks out in Ireland or Scotland. And so like the British government, in order to contain the virus, they build a wall around Scotland, like a huge wall.
It sounds familiar.
What year did this come out?
This came out, I want to say 2008, 2006, maybe.
This sounds vaguely familiar.
It's the plot for Escape from New York, basically. So they created this wall around the island of Scotland. And because they leave all these people to basically just fend for themselves, the UK is like a pariah amongst the world. So everyone just hates Britain now. But they send in people like a special team led by the female Snake Plissken, starring like who is Roma Mitra. Like she's got like an eye patch and everything, and basically she is Snake Plissken,
right?
Which is, and it makes the movie absolutely hilarious.
They gender swapped her.
But yeah, they basically gender swapped Snake Plissken, but she's not Snake Plissken. She's a different character. Yeah. But she got like an eye patch and all this stuff, and everyone's always like, I thought you were taller. So like they send her and her team into Scotland to try to find a cure for this Reaper virus, because unlike most places where it turns people into zombies, in this movie it's actually just like a really deadly virus. So like it can wipe out an entire population, and people in the UK are starting to come down with it. So they send in this team to find this doctor who was close to a cure. who got quarantined inside Scotland. And, once they get in Scotland, it's just devolved into like Mad Max. Like there's cannibals, there's like berserkers, there's like all this crazy stuff. And like the whole movie ends with like this this death race type car race. Yeah, it's batshit crazy. Like it's the most insane movie you've ever seen. And you can tell like when they were making it that they just didn't give up. They're just like, we're gonna put in every movie that we ever loved and we're just gonna mash it together and make that. And it's a huge guilty pleasure movie where like it's not a good movie, but it's a fun movie.
Okay. I feel like I may have seen it because the more you describe it, the more I'm starting to get images in my head of the characters and the situation that they're in.
I have seen it, but it's been a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it's just like he was saying, I remember going, what am I watching?
Yeah.
This is super cool. But yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Anything else?
Well, those were my top films for the apocalypse.
All right.
Westworld
Season 3, Episode 1.
Yeah, I'm going to go check out now.
Do you guys want to keep talking about zombie apocalypse movies? I was actually having some fun with that. That was pretty fun. What else do we got?
Anybody seen World War Z?
I did. I didn't like it.
Really?
Yeah, I thought
I liked the movie more than I liked the book. The book was really boring. In fact, I had a hard time finishing it.
It was a bunch of journal entries.
Yeah.
no
It was rough. It read like a manual,
Jude
but the
hates
movie was
journal
really
entries.
good. I won't read the directions at all.
All right, real quick, we're going to talk about Westworld Season 3, Episode 1, The Return of Dolores.
No spoilers. You better not spoil it.
That's like I haven't seen it yet.
I think I really enjoyed this episode. I think it's a solid setup for the season going forward.
All right, thank you.
Why don't you go to your safe place?
Snowflake.
I don't even know if I'm going to watch Westworld. I don't really like the chick that plays Dolores.
Yeah, I got to admit.
People give her such a hard time.
She's kind of on my list.
She's
kind of on my list.
I try not to be like that, but when I was watching this episode, the only thing I could think of was her shitting on Kobe Bryant after, like, the day he died, like, he's a rapist and this and that.
Yep.
I'm like, Jesus, Evan Rachel Wood, Jesus, come on. Like, we get it. That's her crusade, and I support her in that as far as, if she feels the need to do that, but I'm like, you gotta know when the right time is. And I did find it a little hard watching this episode. I thought about that a lot when I saw her on screen. And she was by far I think she had the most screen time in this episode. It was all about her. And I do enjoy the character, and I think the storyline that they set up for this episode was pretty solid. And I like where they're going with it as far as her kind of trying to dominate this world and take the strength away from the humans and claim their own kind of rite of passage and destroy the bad people. But I think there's going to be a really cool setup where what's the guy's name from Breaking Bad? Paul something?
Jesse Pinkman.
Aaron Paul.
Jesse Pinkman. Aaron Paul, thank you. Aaron Paul's character. He's going to...
I thought his character was really interesting.
I did too. I liked it because I can see how he would side with Dolores in her crusade against... Like, he's been beaten down by society, so he's probably ready for a regime change. And I feel like he's going to side with her once she kind of reveals her ultimate plan to him. But I also kind of see where she might get that not all humans are bad.
Yeah. And
they'll kind of play off of that with that dynamic. And I think that's a really cool setup for this episode.
I really like that they're putting this season in the quote-unquote real world. Mm-hmm. I'm enjoying that dynamic between it's just like a different take on her relationship between her and humans, she and humans, her and humans. Doesn't matter. No one's listening. I agree with you.
One of the things I like about this show is every season we get kind of like a new aspect to this world that they're creating. So like the first season was all entirely Westworld. Mm-hmm. And the second season we get to see like other aspects of that park where you see like,
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Well, you see behind the scenes, but you also see like
other worlds within the park,
Samurai World and, stuff like that. And now we're getting to see the real world, quote unquote. But it's really interesting because in the first episode, there's this scene where they're at a party and there's this kind of rich, douchey jerk at this party. He's been drinking and he's been doing drugs and he's one of those guys who's like, dude, like we're all in a simulation, man.
Oh, yeah.
And you kind of dismiss it as him being a drunk douchey asshole, but like knowing the show, it's like, well, wait a minute, because they were talking about like they should put them all in a simulation within the simulation. And when he said that, I was like, oh, is that what we're doing? Because with the show, they play with the perception of reality a lot. And so like, you have disjointed timelines, you have like all this, all these different perspectives and like, what's it mean to be human? What's it mean to be real? What is real?
What is real?
Can a simulation be just as real as being real? Like what is the real world? Stuff like that. And I wouldn't put it past the show to give us a season 3 where we think, all this stuff is happening in the real world, and then all of a sudden it's like a simulation within the Forge, or something like that.
It's just Dolores inside of a computer program.
Yeah,
something.
She thinks she's in the real world, but it's just another version of the park.
Yeah. And they also, I was telling you earlier that Jonathan Nolan, the guy who, Christopher Nolan's brother, who is the head writer and producer on the show, he did this show called Person of Interest on CBS, which dealt with a lot of these same themes of like, artificial intelligence, what it means to actually, be human, how technology can become godlike and how humans worship technology and stuff like that. And they set up a big thing in this one where they show like the God AI that Dolores is after. And, it was like something right out of that show, Person of Interest. And I was like, I'm interested to see where they're going to go with this.
This is really cool. So if you guys watch the show and you see the opening credits, or you kind of see that ring, and it pops up little spikes and it says disturbance or something like that. And it says in London,
anomaly
detected or stuff like that. That's actually that main computer. It's never hinted at, really. You kind of have to put these pieces together yourself. But you can kind of tell... it wants to create this perfect cycle of like everything's normal. It's controlling all the algorithms. It's controlling human behavior by knowing when things are going to happen and how to adjust for it. And it's constantly trying to create this perfect, visually, it's trying to create this perfect circle, which in the real world just means that it's like everything's calm and everything's normal. Everybody's kind of complacent. Where things are not going as planned. And it's really cool if you really analyze it. Again, I watched Hacks Dogma's YouTube channel. He breaks all this stuff down really well. And it's a ton of fun to see how much detail really goes into this show. Like every little thing that you see on people's tablets has, if you freeze frame it and read what's on there, there's like little hints to what's going on. And the same thing goes for this.
Yeah. The great thing about the show is it is classic hard science fiction. Like it's not Star Wars-y, timey-wimey, space, whatever. Like the people who do this show actually care about the world that they're crafting and the characters that are in it and the technology that's in it. And they take the time to sit down and flesh out these little details. And it's something, and it surprises me that this is a Bad Robot production, because that's the type of thing that Bad Robot just isn't known to do. But I think Jonathan Nolan
cares. He seems to care.
He comes from that Christopher Nolan school of filmmaking where it's like, let's take this seriously, and it pays off in the show.
I agree. It does definitely. It helps build the world out to where for people who like us, who like diving into that type of thing, you can dive into it and there are answers to the questions that you have. Even if they're like obscure, weird questions that not a normal audience member would ask. If you were like, hey, I'm curious about how this works, and you dive into it, it's all there. It's all thought out, which is, it's not the normal thing we see nowadays from entertainment. People usually just like surface level stuff, and then once you dive deeper, it kind of doesn't make any sense anymore.
I think the show gets a bad rap because it does do a lot of delayed payoffs where they set up all these really intriguing questions, and people just kind of want to know the answers right away. And they're like, "This show's stupid. It's confusing. They don't tell you anything." But if you're patient and you realize that these are answers that are going to be coming somewhere down the line, it's actually a very intriguing show.
Yeah. I remember the maze in season 1. The maze was a huge blank, question mark for a lot of people. And I think some people may have not been very satisfied with the answer that they got, although the answer that they got made sense in the subject of the show. And I was like, man, I love the show, although I do find it hard to follow sometimes, which is why I watch a bunch of YouTube videos about it just to kind of get my head around it, which definitely helps. But Jude, what did you think about this episode besides the relationships? What do you think about the world that they're going forward and where this season's taking us?
Well, I think it's the way that they develop their worlds for the viewer, at least for me. It makes me feel like I am placing my trust in this world, and how do I describe this? Like, it makes me feel like it's a safe place to place my trust in investing in this world, because a lot of times you'll watch something and then you'll be invested in it and then you'll be like, wait a minute,
It was all a waste of time.
this doesn't
Game of
make
Thrones.
any sense.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
There'll be like a major flaw in something and you'll be like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. This goes
Yeah.
against like a bunch of shit that 3 seasons like was a law, and now all of a sudden that doesn't matter. But with this show, it feels like everything's in place and you can just fully put yourself in the epicenter of this show and just kind of invest in it and just see where it takes you. And it as for me, like, just as a viewer, it just feels like a really safe place to invest in.
Yeah,
You feel comfortable watching the show.
I
and-
feel like they're not going to like pull the rug out from underneath me and be like, oh, that shit doesn't matter now because we're in a hurry to wrap things up.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this show is that they actually take like an entire year to like write the scripts for every episode before they start filming, because that was a big thing after I think in the middle of the first season, they put the show on hiatus for production. And the reason for that was because they were like, we want to really get the scripts, completed and ready to have everything make sense. And then after that, for season two got delayed by 2 years because they're like, we want to really take our time with the scripts. And, you can argue whether or not that paid off for season 2. But I think like in watching season 1 and season 2, like in a binge format, like it definitely pays off because like they actually took the time to care about what they were writing. Yeah,
and that's the difference between like delaying things for Westworld versus delaying things for Game of Thrones. Like the payoff for Game of Thrones was like, what the f*** did they spend their money on?
time.
What did they waste their time with?
Yeah.
That whole last season was a shit show and a joke.
And it took like 3 years to come out, right?
Yeah. Versus with Westworld, it's just like, oh, okay, I'm all right with this because they took their time and they made it better.
Yeah, I can definitely. There's a huge difference between the writing quality, for sure, and I can see that, and it comes off on in the show itself. It like you said, it makes you feel like, okay, I can invest my time.
Yeah.
And because we got burned. I mean, I don't think there's a single person out there who didn't feel like they got burned from season 8 of Game of Thrones. I mean, it was like 10,
you'd be surprised.
10 years in the I'm sure there's people. I'm sure I get it. Like 10 years in the making, and then like the season 8, you're like, well, that's it. That's what we got. Like, really? And I really hope that this show doesn't do it. I don't know how many seasons they have planned or how long it's going to take Dolores to take over the world, but I certainly hope that they continue this trend. And I know that the wait times between seasons is ridiculous, but I mean, as long as they keep delivering.
If it's worth it, then it's worth it.
Yeah, if it's worth it, then fine. Do what you got to do. But it is irritating.
And if Kadish is on board with the writing, then
oh yeah, he's going to be our guy.
At some point, they're going to have to speed things up, right?
Nope.
Because
we're all just sitting at home.
Well,
waiting for it to come
they'll
out.
end up running into a problem like they do with Data on Star Trek. Because Evan Rachel Wood's going to get old.
Well, they'll just put her in a new body.
Oh yeah,
I
they could
guess
do
so.
that. Just swap the
New actress.
yep, swap the bodies.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels between Westworld and Altered Carbon.
There are.
are.
Yeah, that's
both great
Since I
sci-fi
get the
shows.
next month off after this week, I'll probably have to get caught up on both of those shows.
So next week you'll be really prepared.
One episode
Probably
at a
not.
time. One
Next
episode.
week Vader
not.
is going to lead the discussion.
No.
It's all you. I was thinking about having one of you guys start the podcast off and do like the intro and stuff
do
like
it.
that. You will?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Show me what you got.
Welcome to this episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast, brought to you by The Salty Nerd. Today, we are hosted by The Salty Nerd.
Almost had it.
I thought you were going to say, brought to you by Organically Wonderful. Type in the code SALTY15 on checkout to get 15% off your
half
order.
a bottle of champagne. Give me a script.
That was good. Pretty good. All right,
I would just go, what's up, guys? This is the Salty Nerd Show. We're nerds.
What do we call it again?
Yeah, where am I?
Where am I?
Vaginas.
Can I just say, since we're talking about HBO shows, Avenue 5, how much I love this show.
I'm hearing a lot of good things about it.
Have you finished it?
I have not caught up yet.
It's so
I've got
dark.
like 3 episodes.
Like it's so dark and crazy. Like the last episode I saw, just blew my mind how batshit insane it got.
Yeah.
It's probably one of my new favorite shows.
Yeah.
Like it's so good. It's dark. Like a lot of people die.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I gotta watch it again.
Really dark and sarcastic.
Yeah. And the way they die is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it just gets more and more ridiculous. It's
Gotta
hilarious.
watch it now. That's exciting.
But they have this whole gag where the captain.
Don't spoil anything in case anybody hasn't watched it.
I want to talk about it so bad. Okay. I won't spoil it.
We'll do a season 1 recap
They have
next
this
week.
gag where somebody on the show does something, and it's really funny.
Somebody dies.
But no, what's the main character's name? The captain guy, the actor, Hugh Laurie.
Yeah.
You, Lori.
Hugh Laurie has this bit where like he reveals a new aspect of his character that just it is so fucking funny.
You're losing it.
It's not funny when it happens. Like you're watching, it's like, oh, that's humorous. But like when you go back and you think about it, you're like, that was fucking hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just the way everyone reacts to it, it's fantastic.
All right. I'll have to finish. Have you finished the season yet?
No.
No. Okay.
It's
Me and
so
you.
I told you I haven't watched any TV this week.
I know you've been busy at work, but hey, now you won't be.
Yay!
Congratulations.
I started off so yay!
Not so good. I'm sorry.
Hey, raise your hand if you're unemployed.
Waiting for my Trump check.
Oh yeah, that's exciting. We get a stimulus package, be bigger than Obama's. You know, since
buy
I've been
eggs.
an adult, I've gotten paid by the government more than I feel like I should.
I've gotten stimulated by the government
Stimulated by
more
the-
times than I thought I would
Yeah.
as an adult.
It's like, wow, this is weird. Like, don't worry, guys, we're gonna send you a check. I'm like, all right, well, thanks, I guess. Anyway, that's our subjects for today. We'll end on that somber note of everybody losing their job. Hey, stay safe out there, guys.
Yeah.
Don't associate with anybody that you know might be sick, Jude, and don't go around any old people.
Hey,
Matt.
Alex, is Organically Wonderful
no.
making homemade hand sanitizer yet?
No, we are not. Actually, we're in a bit of a shutdown because shipping right now is kind of at a halt. You can still pre-order things, and then as soon as this all clears up, we'll start shipping things out again.
Yeah.
But
Well, one thing you can order is the digital version of Lawman,
Boom.
Rook and Berenger, Childhood Zen, releasing on March 20th, which will probably be here by the time this podcast comes out.
You can also order the audio version of Lawman. Oh, I meant to ask you, what is your cat's Instagram?
Yes, Matt Vader, tell us about your cat's Instagram.
I haven't even posted anything on it for a couple
where
of
can
days.
we yell at you on Twitter and Instagram, Matt Vader?
At Matt Vader 74.
And where's your cat at? Truly Luli, right?
No.
No, for real.
Truly underscore Louis.
Oh, that's right.
Nice. It's actually
There he is.
He's kind of pissed off right
dude.
now.
You're gonna have so much free time to make funny
yeah.
memes out of your cat. It's gonna be
Oh
hilarious.
my God, look at him.
It's so funny. How many followers does he have now?
I don't know.
But more than Matt, probably.
Oh yeah, for sure. 120.
127.
Oh my god, I have 250. If you beat me, I'm gonna be pissed.
Oh, I'm gonna beat you by the end of next week.
You only have 250?
Only at 250.
Instagram cat people are next level weird.
I love that.
That's kind of why I did that, because I saw this weird movie on Netflix about. It's called. I don't remember what it was called. Some stupid cat meme name, right? And it's all about people with cat Instagram accounts that have like millions of followers.
There's a movie.
It's a documentary.
Oh, this ties into the podcast.
Yeah,
That's
and
perfect.
it's a trip. So that's why I did this. Is like I got a cute cat. I want to like see how this works.
I
And
love that you're like secret agent your way into these people. Jude, where can we find you on Twitter?
At I am Jude Juju. I forgot for a minute. At I am Jude Juju on Instagram, Twitter. That's it.
Cool.
She's been under quarantine.
The Cat's Meow Review, a feature-length advert, insufferable documentary.
It's called Cats the Movie.
Not to be confused with Cats, the movie,
The movie.
based on the musical.
Good Lord.
I hear they're going to be releasing Cats early too.
Oh, speaking of cats,
Here we go.
last night, Seth Rogen blasted out of his mind, token up. He's live tweeting as he's watching Cats. Epic.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
I
like
didn't know.
And like I saw last, it had 90,000 retweets already. It's like probably a good 40 posts long.
Wow.
You can tell he was just like completely ripped the whole time.
Have you seen his post this morning? He was like, I look like I've been quarantined for 3 years.
I love Seth Rogen.
That's amazing.
Social media is going to be awesome for the next month. It's going to be great.
Everybody has no job. They're stuck
Pretty sure those are
inside.
ladies' glasses, too.
They look like yours. Just not pink.
Yeah.
We all need to get Xboxes so we can like play games
I've
online.
got an Xbox One.
I don't.
I have a PlayStation.
You PlayStation people. No, I envy you, though.
I prefer PC anyway.
Yeah, me too.
Fortnite? Let's do Fortnite streams.
I'm not playing Fortnite.
Hell yeah, dude. It's free.
Where can we find you, Kadish?
Oh, where can we find you, Kadish? On the socials.
Look, he's got that look on his face down there. I was like, are we going to talk about me anytime soon?
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish, on Twitter and Instagram. You can also join my Facebook group, Egg FB Group, eggfbgroup.com. Take you right to it. You can find my books at kadishbooks.com and my YouTube channel at kadishvideo.com. And yeah, so I got a new book coming out, first one in 2 years. I'm pretty excited about it. So be sure to check out Lawman, Rook and Berenger on Amazon. And, the audiobook is going to be available wherever audiobooks are sold.
Yes.
T-minus 2 days.
Yep. By the time this podcast comes
yeah,
out.
by the time it's out, it'll be out.
Yeah. And as an audiobook person and somebody who listens to a lot of audiobooks, I highly recommend it. The narration is on point. Also, the sound editing and all that stuff is amazing.
So good.
It's really good.
It really gets you into it.
And I'm not just saying that
Gets you
because he's standing next to me and he's bigger than me. I'm saying it because I actually did really enjoy this book. So go check it out. It's a ton of fun. And if you like sci-fi at all, if you like Firefly, if you like anything in that realm, and you like good audiobooks, go check it out. Lawman, what is it?
Lawman, Rook and Berenger,
Berenger.
Childhood's End, Book 1 of the Galactic Ranger Chronicles.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to book 2 because I want to find out what happens. So get moving there, Kadish.
Do my best.
How far are you into book 2?
I'm like 9 chapters in.
Okay, cool. Are you going to keep it to like 20 chapters each, or are you going to expound?
It's however long it's going to be. So, but it'll probably be around 50, 60.
It takes as long as it takes, Rook.
Yeah.
This is true. I don't know anything about writing. I wish I did.
It's going to be a book. I can promise. It'll be something you can read.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Stay safe out there, and keep your conspiracy theory antennas tuned.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Use hand sanitizer. It's not going to help because it's airborne.
Social distance yourselves.
Yeah, listen to the podcast. You can go back and listen to all of our other podcasts, or you can follow me on Twitter at Salty Nerd or Instagram at Salty Nerd Podcast. And you can check out all the posts that we do and all the stories that we make and all the cool freaking celebrity shout-outs that we get. Shout out to Anthony and Gruber for doing the intro to this episode. That was fantastic. I'm super thrilled to have him.
And if you want to throw us $1 a month and become a Patreon, you get to hear all of the cool shit we talk about before we do the show.
Yes.
And how we were not social distancing.
Or $20 a month. Or $100 a month.
You could, I don't know if I have that option available, but yeah, sure. You can go to my PayPal.
For $1,000 a month, Salty will come mow your yard.